Alright, so I'm back, and today we're going to begin a kind of a repair bay episode. And we're going to just kind of go through each one of the Fansproject Dinobots and do like a small repair job on each one to try to improve certain aspects of them. So what I've done, I've went ahead and I took sludge and I've taken them apart. One thing I want to point out, and I think I pointed it out when I did the hip repair before, like the hip replacement, is that these screws here, when you take this out, there's a spring, you can see it right there, that's super tight, so just be very careful when you're pulling it apart, and don't let that spring just pop out, because otherwise it's gonna get lost. So I've taken him apart. I'm taking his legs off. We don't really need those. First concern is the hip joints. So here's, I've got the waist assembly, and it's got the ball joints for the hips, and here's the ball sockets. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take some nail polish here. Mix this up a little bit. And this is probably what we're going to use pretty much the entire video, I think. And we're just going to go through and like put a little bit of this on to tighten up certain joints. So we're gonna just apply this on here. Now typically when you apply the nail polish onto a figure, it only adds the smallest amount. So if your joints are just a tiny bit loose, then one coat will probably do it. If they're really loose, like this one, you probably want to go with 2 or 3 coats. I'm going to go with myself, I'm going to go for right now, and we'll see how it is, how it works once it's fully dry. I'm going to coat the outside and then the inside as well, and so that's essentially 2 coats there. Just to see if that works. And my mat here that I've got, it's actually just a hotel mat. When you go in, they've got like promotions on there. So every year they send us a whole bunch of new ones, and I got, you know, I just take the old ones. It's a really cool mat, because it's got this rubber felt kind of stuff on the bottom. So this is what I use to glue onto the bottom of my big combiner feet, to make them stick to my surfaces. So I've also taken the torso assembly here apart, because these shoulder bits, they're just a little, I mean, they're not, it's not terrible loose, but just a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those tightened up as well. Just kind of put it on there. You know, can't hurt to get that just a little bit tighter. Okay. Then last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit to his gun as well. Now, the design of the gun, this isn't going to help tremendously, because they didn't give him a round handle. They gave him this weird oval handle, and then they made his fingers hinge. Probably the best fix would be to glue his fingers together, but I'm not going to go that route yet. I'm going to see if this works, and if not, at least, you know, see if this helps out at all, and if not, I might try and replace the handle. That might be a fun episode to do, but I don't fully know how I'd go about that just yet. So yeah, we'll let this dry. This is probably the most critical part of doing any kind of repairs like this, is you want this to dry before you try and put the joints back together. And with most paint and polish, you know, it seems like it's dry now, but it hasn't really cured. So we want to give this probably at least 24 hours before you try and put it back on, because then it's just going to snap off or smear off. So we want to give this a full 24 hours, and then we'll reassemble them. I'll do all the assembly stuff off screen, because you know it's pretty simple stuff. You know, just get a screwdriver, and this is all pretty simple too. But we're gonna do all of them, so I figure, you know, what the hell, let's just do it all on screen, right? So yeah, so that's it for Sludge. I'll set him aside and let him dry, and then we'll kind of check back at the end of the video, or well, actually in the next video, which will be the big group shots. We'll see. I'll let you know how they all did. But so this is my first start. All right, so the next one on the repair list is Slag here, and so a couple little pieces here that we're gonna look at. So the waist assembly is on this little mushroom peg, which I pulled off. It's super loose, so we're gonna tighten that up. So again, we're just going to use our nail polish here. Just tighten this up here. Just like that. For the most part, it locks into place when you put the tail up into the torso section, so it's not that big of a deal that it's loose. But just because we're here and we're doing this, I figure, what the hell, let's do that. Next thing we're gonna do, we'll just put a coat on the guns too, try and tighten that up a little bit as well. Okay. Again, we just want to give that a good 24 hours to dry. Luckily, I'm filming this actually probably a week and a half prior to this video going up, so I've got plenty of time to fix any mistakes. Now here's the big one. So these red panels here, when they're on the torso, they slide when you're trying to move the arms, similar to the way Grimlocks do. And I sat there, I'm like, man, it's got to have a better design than just having a friction joint there. Well, I'm going to show you guys. It actually is a ratchet. But the problem is, it doesn't have a spring in it, so there's no tightness to the ratchet. I'm going to try to take this off very delicately, because I've already lost the left arm one. So if you pull this off, see this red piece here? That was supposed to keep this whole piece from moving. So when this is on here, you see where the red piece was. So this would be locked into place here, and then this would ratchet around it, which goes into the torso. So unfortunately, because that broke, there's no way for that to ratchet. And that looks like it probably happened the first transformation, because it's such a small piece and it's such a big part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Gorilla Glue, because this is going to be a little bit more durable than regular super glue. And we're just going to put a tiniest bit here. Just a tiniest dab. And I just used the super glue that was coming out of the bottle on its own. I didn't squeeze it at all, because we don't want to put too much glue in here. And then we're going to put this back on. Alright, now you can see there's a bunch of glue inside there. So we're going to take this screw here. It's actually what we want. We want that screw to get nice and covered in that glue too. And then we're going to tighten this screw back up. Just like that. So now it's all glued on the inside and on the outside. So we're going to hope that that's going to fix it, and we'll see how it is after it dries completely. I'm not holding too much hope out on this to be completely honest. It might just be beyond repair, but you know, we can give it a try, see what happens. So setting that off, we're going to do the same thing over here. So unscrew this tab, pull this whole assembly off. And that one's, you can see that it's broken too. So that's what we call really just piss poor design on Fansproject part. It's they just, that littlest tab, and they expected it to stay with this the whole thing. I'm kind of curious on if that's the same thing that's going on with Grimlock. So when we get to him, we'll take him apart as well and see what's going on there. So put that back in there. Get that screw that back in. And again, you know, we want to give this a good 24 hours to dry, just like the polish, just so that you know, it has a good opportunity to dry, and then we don't have to worry about oh my, use your words, John. So it doesn't come off right away. So we don't want to just disassemble it or put it back together and then realize it's not going in there right. But also so that like with the glue especially, because we don't want it to actually glue itself, glue the joint together. We want it to yeah, you guys get what I'm saying. we want the glue where we have it, not where it will end up. So yeah, there we go. That's that portion of it, and then we'll go on to the next figure. Okay, so for Swoop here, we've got his waist was a little loose, so I'm going to tighten that up. His thighs are a little loose too, but see these panels here? Those are all glued in, and I can pop this one out, but I can't get this one out. So you can see I've done a little damage on it, so I don't want to do any more. So we're gonna just deal with the legs the way they are. I don't, like I said, I don't want to destroy the figure just to try and tighten the leg up. So we're gonna put a little bit here on this guy. Hopefully that will tighten that up. I gotta say, you know, they did, like, they painted that whole section even though it was completely covered, so shout out to Fansproject for that. And then this here, this is the joint that attaches onto the elbow. The ball joint itself is fine, or not elbow, but the shoulder. The ball joint itself is fine. It's this top piece here, so we're gonna put a little glue on that too, or a little polish on that too. So put a little bit on the inside here. This one. Make sure you're putting it on the right spot, and I almost made a mistake there. Alright, and there we go. There's Swoop. We'll just take a look at Grimlock next, and we'll do Snarl last. So, yeah. Okay, so next one on the list is Grimlock. Now, I've got his feet off and apart, so we're going to tighten up not only the ball joint that's in there, but also the hinge that moves there. It's actually fairly tight, but we're going to do it since we got it apart anyway. We're going to tighten up these dino arms as well. But the big one, and this is really unfortunate, that I wanted to do was open this up and see what's going on with these pieces. See if I can get these things to maybe lock into place or tighten it up. But the problem is, so there's a screw hole here, and then there's screw holes here and here. But these are pinned in. These pieces are pinned in over the screw hole, so you cannot actually access that screw hole. I can't get in there, and I can't. So there's nothing I can do. I can't get in there. I mean, I'm sure somebody that knows how to heat up these pins and loosen them up would have a better time at it than me, but I can't do it. So, and I'm not willing to destroy this figure. It's a really good figure, so I'll just have to live with that. And same thing with the Slag. It's probably, you know, my glue fix with the screws probably not going to do the trick. So unfortunately, that's all there is that I can really do to that. So, oh well. So let's tighten up these joints that we can. So we're gonna paint this ball joint here. And this one here. Okay, and then we will paint it on the outside here of these joints. I don't think it'll be necessary to get them on the inside as well. I think just the outside is going to be just enough. Because like I said, the swivel joint here wasn't as much of a problem as the ball joint is. So yeah, there we go. And then we'll do these two ball joints down here on the ankles. Those all nice and coated as well. All right, and hopefully that will do the trick for us. I guess that's really all there is. All right, now for the big part. We've got this guy taken apart. You just have to take all these screws out of here. You have to take this whole chest assembly apart, and then you can pull this piece here out. Now, after looking at it, and I watched Kuma Style, he used a Dremel. There is actually no purpose for this whole center piece here, outside of keeping these things together. So I was going to use a Dremel when I had thought about it originally, but then somebody pointed out Kuma Styles video, and he uses a Dremel there. So I decided, I'm like, you know, I'm gonna try something different for those that don't have Dremels. I think I have a Dremel. Yeah, I do. I had to question myself. So we're going to use some Citadel clippers. So these are for miniatures. And so it's real simple to see where we want to cut, because it's actually from here to here. You can see this whole back piece will fit just perfectly inside that slot. So we want to cut this whole section here out. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screwdriver here. And pull the tail sections off. Get those out of the way. Because whenever you're doing something like this, you want to definitely have as much clearance space as you can. Alright, now we got this. This is all we need to work on. So we just need to split this in half. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my clippers here and just go right down the middle. And clip it right in half. Easy peasy. So now we can clean it up with the clippers. Okay, razor blade, fresh blade on here, so that's why I was like, ooh. Alright, so we just want to clean this up a little bit. And that is it. I mean, that went real quick. Yeah, I think that was the better or the quicker way of the two. Instead of using a Dremel, just use those clippers. All right, so let's do this one here real quick. And see what I'm doing is, because you don't want to clip too much at once, so I'm just clipping sections off at a time. Just like that. Now we clean it up. And there you go. Piece of cake. Let's put the tail section back on here. I'm going to tighten these screws up here because I don't think we actually, now that we've got them apart, I don't think we need to take the whole torso assembly apart. This for the third screw, you have to just put this all the way to here, and then kind of get this arm out of place because it's right in here. So it's kind of a challenge to get to. Alright, and now we can take this piece, undo the screw here, and we'll just pop this back into place here. Same thing over here. Okay, let's see what we got. So now this section can, you still kind of have to wiggle around the tail. Now we can get this section up in here, like that. And then we can angle these how you want. Yeah. Oh, that's so much better. That is, I mean, yeah, he's still got a backpack, but man, that is so much better. Whew. Oh, man. I feel better. I feel better. All right, so I'm going to put all the Dinobots back together, and tomorrow we're going to do all the comparisons. And yeah, that worked. That worked out great. We can get this all the way up here if we want. That might be a little too high, but at the same time, I'm not all that against it. We can move this how we want to. I mean, we can. That looks so much better. I love this. Okay, yeah. I wonder why they designed it that way when they could have just not done that. But who knows? I mean, I'm not in Fansproject's payroll, but if I were, I would have figured that one out real quick. And those are the only real joint issues I have with this particular guy. Everything else seems to work fine. The only issue is the sword. And that's just an issue across the board, and we'll get into that when we go into all the robot modes. But yeah, that was actually pretty simple. Not bad at all.